the top score. Why didn't you recommend the top score? You ranked them by the top score, so
Yes,
people would argue that you did select, but yet you're saying that you didn't select.
that's right. At the time that we went through this process, we were of the belief that we were not the selecting official. We did not have the ability to select the contract.
Procurement rules allow in the RFP process either the selection to be made by a procurement officer or an evaluation committee.
You state, attached is a memo to the director from the evaluation committee providing its selection. Of course, we were told they were not a selection committee.
That's what's stated in the transmittal, yes.
And you initialed it.
Yes, I did. Did not make a recommendation. We ranked them for the director to make a selection.
And you didn't consider that ranking a recommendation?
Well, it's explicit. It's a numerical scoring. We sort of just came to the conclusion that we'll just let the scores say what they are.
And did you share those scores with the director?
We did not share them directly with the director. I think we had always felt that we would have an obligation to have a ranking. And because the ranking is explicit, to me a ranking is as close to a recommendation as you could get. I don't know why you would need anything more than a ranking to come
So
up with a
there was no effort to have a recommendation.
I just insisted that the committee needed to come up with a recommendation.
Your knowledge of the procurement law requires them to have the numerical recommendation.
My understanding is that they need to come up with a recommendation.
Okay. Could the committee have recommended to the director any other one but the highest ranking?
No, it should have been based on their numerical rank.
That the committee's recommendation is based on the numerical rating. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's always been your understanding.
Yes.
And you also said that they could not come up with any other selection but the highest numerical.
It should be based on their score sheets.
If you're not going to give numbers, then why even rank it? And if you are going to rank it, then why not give numbers?
Yes, again,
On the advice of your ASO,
quite possibly.
At any time, did SID come to you to ask you about the form of this recommendation memo?
I don't recall them coming specifically to me to talk to me about that.
Even after you, on the 31st, said that they needed to do a recommendation, they need to do the ranking, SID never came and asked for guidance or advice?
I don't recall them coming.
But you did say that you wanted to come up with a recommendation.
A ranking.
Then why in this email you talk about a recommendation? This is from you to Ted.
Yeah.
Ted, we have received best and final offers from all three offers. The team is reviewing them and will proceed to finalize scores and rankings, giving you our best shot at a recommendation.
Yes. Ideally, you'd want to have a recommendation. And if the director does not agree with that recommendation, then he needed to be able to justify why he made that decision that varied from a recommendation. As we've gone through this history now, there really wasn't a firm recommendation, but a listing in order.
That letter Maurice Kaya sent to the director listing Kolohala, that was a recommendation.
Yes.
Yes. So which is it? Is it a recommendation or was it not a recommendation?
It wasn't a strong endorsement of one company over another. It was a ranking. This email states that giving you our best shot at a recommendation. We would come up with a ranking, and a ranking, as much as anything else, constitutes a recommendation. We came to the conclusion that they're all within the competitive range. We could not make a recommendation, a firm, discrete, explicit recommendation. So we opted to go with just the ranking of the scores.
you're saying you didn't trust your scores? Because it was clear that, like you say, it was wide gaps between the first and third. You could have picked the highest score. You had that option.
Yes.
I'm trying to get an understanding of where in your mind, we could pick the highest score, but let's give the ranking instead, which was a deviation from past practice.
Just opted to go with the scores as they were and then let the director decide.
Why not just put the top score, let the director approve or disapprove? If he disapproved,
Could have done that, yes, sir.
why didn't you just recommend the top two, since the third one was farther down?
I suppose we could have done that. At least I certainly wouldn't have felt comfortable to just, at that point, arbitrarily leave one off.
Is it your understanding, your belief that Kolohala was the best qualified of the three for the contract?
I will acknowledge that they had the highest score, therefore they were the prime ranking consultant.
Whatever scores come out of that is the scores.
Yes.
And that they cannot say, even though this is the score, we're selecting the second or the third.
Were you surprised that the top-ranked company was not chosen?
I would say I was mildly surprised, yes. I was mildly surprised because number 3 is a ways off from number 1.
Again, in your evaluation, the summaries that were read earlier, you express some pretty serious concerns about H2 Energy. One says it may conflict with the law, and twice it says may conflict with legislative intent. Now, did you share these concerns in the meeting that you had with the director?
No, I don't recall sharing those types of concerns explicitly with the director because we had a discussion, which is a verbal discussion, and we didn't refer to any explicit scores or the scoring sheets or anything like that.
But is it correct to say that the director made his decision after that meeting? I mean, that was the basis of the director's decision?
Yes, it's my understanding.
Okay. And so did you discuss the strengths and weaknesses of the different
We did.
proposals? But those particular concerns?
I don't
were
recall
discussed?
explicitly raising that concern to the director's attention.
It seemed pretty significant. I mean, conflicting with the law, conflicting with legislative intent would be enough, some would say, to disqualify a person if it was true.
Yes, but
So did you seek rebuttal from anyone, the director or other people, to those?
no, I did.
Fears
I did not.
or
Again, I
concerns?
felt that that was an interpretation on my part. It was just a red flag that I noted in the comments.
You said the end result has to end up with being hydrogen. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's correct because that was how I interpreted the act.
Okay. And you did make that known to the bidders because it was in a form of a question.
Not only did we make it known to the bidders, we made the act available to the bidders.
Okay. Going back to the question Senator Hoosier had regarding your evaluation that says, this proposal limits early-stage investments, projects without direct link to hydrogen as needed criteria for returns, may conflict with the law, conflict with legislative intent, not necessarily linked to hydrogen. You tell the bidders that they have to have that link, and yet, as part of the top 3, if they're selected, they may be in conflict with the law. How is that possible that you would recommend an entity that conflicts with exactly what you had spelled out in the RFP?
Well, again, as I tried to explain to Senator Loser, that's an assessment based on what was in the proposal.
You have to do it based on the RFP, correct? And you are the expert as far as the energy area, that you wrote to help write the RFP, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Did you reveal your comments to him in that meeting?
No, we did not. Explicitly, the evaluation sheets were not revealed to
Did you relay the concerns about conflict with law and
no, I did
conflict
not.
with legislative intent? And
Yeah. As I've indicated previously, I don't recall explicitly bringing that to the attention of
Did
the
you
director.
think why not? Because you opted to verbally relay rather than you could have given him all your materials. The function shifted from your committee to him. I mean, I'm a little perplexed to understand why you would shift it and not give him the information that you had accessible to you.
At the time that we had that meeting, on the advice of the council that we had at the meeting at the time, which was our ESO, we were advised at that meeting not to disclose explicitly until we actually came up with a report to the director.
Because you didn't rely on Ms. Harada, you relied on the ASO director,
Correct.
who acknowledged that he really was not knowledgeable.
Went into that meeting, we had a 2-hour discussion, the end result of which we knew we had to prepare something in finality for the director. Mr. Kitamura could have very well have said that, you need to come up with a recommendation, which then led to the memo that has been before this committee as well.
I just insisted that the committee needed to come up with a recommendation.
You did testify earlier that you ended up writing this final evaluation committee findings, right? Priscilla did a standard draft to you with the scores, with the line for the approval. She testified for that, and it came back to her in this form.
Basically, the wording is pretty much my wording.
Where on this letter does it say there's no recommendation?
It doesn't say that explicitly on this memo.
So clearly, it doesn't say you had no recommendation. And from everybody who's seen this, including the PO, all say, including Ken Kitamura, under oath, said this was a recommendation. So the committee did, in fact, make a recommendation.
Well, that's what I interpret from that letter
Okay.
that Maurice Kaya had said.
Okay, so under oath, you're saying that that is a recommendation.
Yes.
Okay.